Okay, we're at Astrodeck, and we're here talking to Steve Sherman, friend, photographer, all-around great guy. So tell me something about your early skating career.
I started skating in Poway when I moved from Indiana. My parents moved when I was 11, so I got my first skateboard right before the urethane era. And we lived out in Poway, so I was skating in the hills of Poway. And then we moved to Solana Beach, and I started skating La Costa with my in the summer of '76. So I kind of was a La Costa kid, skating the hills up there. So that's kind of my skateboarding background comes from that era of the downhill slalom racing and downhilling up there.
Wow, that's really cool. And so, okay, so you were 11 when you started this?
I was 11 when I started skateboarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when did you start picking up a camera?
When I was 13 in junior high. I took a black and white junior high school class at Earl Warren. It was like a 101 basic class, and that was in 7th grade. So then I started doing, and then me and my dad built a dark room in our house, so I started printing. This is when I'm like 13 years old, 12. And then once I got to high school, I started working on the school paper and had a dark room for 4 years at the school paper. So we don't only do our stuff for the school paper, we do, rock and roll stuff and stuff like that.
So that's really great. You started as a kid, and so you had that eye. You didn't have all that stuff in your head about what a photograph is supposed to be.
Basically, what I thought a photograph should be was looking at Skateboarder magazine. That was basically Craig Stessick. My whole vision of my photography starts at Stessick. He was the first photographer. Well, maybe Matthew Brady from the Civil War photos when I was a kid, but those photographers. But it was Stessick who was shooting skateboarding at the time. His really gritty photojournalism, black and white thing, really was a huge influence on me. I didn't get to meet Craig until like 1988 when I was working for Powell. But yeah, so that's my basis. What comes from that kind of era, kind of style. Okay,
and so it was more that action shot, that gritty, so it almost looked like the concrete, the whole.
Or even the portraits. He'd shoot the guys and all those Paul Constantine and those guys. He'd shoot them on the streets of Venice with Vato guys and stuff, and very street, urban. And that's before urban was even hip with skate, but that, as I said, that just had a huge influence on me when I started doing black and white.
Interesting, because most people start out later. And so you started seeing something you loved and you saw it translated onto film.
Yeah. I think you learn to be a pre-visualization. That's a tool that when you see, think something in your mind and you make it come to fruition on paper or whatever. And my dad's an electronic engineer, and he was a photographer when he was younger, but my dad's kind of a visionary, pre-visualized. I got that knack for him, so I can imagine something and make it come to fruition on stuff. So even today, usually when I take photographs, I pretty much know what it's going to look like before I shoot it.